Welcome back, Truth Seeker. It is Friday, June 28th, 2024. Big day in history. Look into this date in history, June 28th, and just read through the history on this date. Heavily connected to World War I. Happens to be Elon Musk's birthday. For a lot of us, it was the day that we got our YouTube channels deleted for the first time. A lot of us got wiped out in a wave on June 28th, 2017. I remember there were a number of channels besides myself that got taken out that very same day. And again, censorship's just been through the roof, pretty much worse with time as time has gone on since that point, which was now 7 years ago today. 7 years ago today, for the very first time, my YouTube channel wiped off the map. The debate last night. We talked about how it was seemingly lined up for Trump, and which Biden would we get? The one from the State of the Union, where he still muddled quite a few words and sentences, but seemed more with it, or the one that they say is wandering off into the field. And if you missed the debate, it was in the early section, maybe around the 10-minute mark, that Joe Biden just talking about Social Security. It almost seems so symbolic too, because Social Security for so many people has to do with the elderly part of their life. A lot of people in our country don't even make it to be as old as Joe Biden is. 81 years old, the man who supposedly got 81 million votes from Scranton, Pennsylvania, right off Interstate 81. But today the story is, a lot of people are acknowledging that Biden. He dropped. If you guys missed the part early in the debate where Biden really lost it, we'll go back and play that. And it just set up a softball for Trump to, hit a home run on. But the debate was terrible, and it's so sad that America's being made to choose between these two clowns in the ongoing joke of my entire adult lifetime. Here, before I even get into this debate last night, I just have to remind you my perspective on the world. Let me take you back to the year 2000. My senior year of high school started September 2000. I graduated from high school May 2001. And I was in my second week of college when 9/11 happened. But anyway, going back before 9/11, my senior year of high school, I was only 17 years old. I was not old enough to vote. That was the year of the election. Bush, the second one, versus Gore, the vice president to Clinton. And again, it was the weirdest thing because they said for months the state was going to come down to Florida, where Bush's brother was the 43rd governor of the state, and Bush was trying to become the 43rd president, and his father was the president, but he was also the 43rd vice president to Ronald Reagan. And again, they were telling us for over a month the election was going to come down to Florida, which seemed weird alone, like, it's going to be his brother's state that's so important this year. But remember, the election was first called for Gore, and then Florida said, wait a minute, we think we got maybe a different result, hold on. Like a half hour after it was called for Gore, then they said, we got to look at it more, and then they said, actually, it's Bush who has won Florida, and he's the president. And it was like, come on. And then 9/11 happened, a national emergency on 911, and then you just look at it and you're like, wow, 911 was made the emergency dialing code the same year World Trade Center construction began in New York. Same year George W. Bush graduated from Yale, and he was in that secret society Skull and Bones, which had the hit movie with Paul Walker, where he gets a red Porsche in the film from the secret society Skull and Bones, and then he dies in a weird way years later in a red Porsche 5 years to the day of Papa Bush dying, both November 30th. But so that was 2000, right? So I couldn't even vote, and I was like, something is up with our vote for president. I can't believe everyone. I was calling him King George II when he won. I was like, this doesn't even look. I mean, the last Republican president's his father, his brother's the governor of the state. I just remember looking at all this back then and thinking, it looks like this is some kind of monarchy. Like we still have kings and queens. And so anyway, that was 2000. And then so if I was wrong, then 2004 should be something a lot different. But then in 2004, being this young person paying attention in the world, I noticed in 2004, Tim Russer interviewed Bush and Kerry in different Meet the Press episodes close to each other, though, about both being in Yale Skull and Bones, and both laughed about it and said they couldn't say anything because it was a secret society. And again, look into Tim Russert's death. But 2004, you had two members of the same elite secret society at Yale that only allows 15 members per year, so a very small group of men are in this fraternity throughout the world. And it just happens that two of them are the candidates in 2004. So I'm like, okay. And I mean, it's like, how do you not beat Bush in a debate? It's just like, how do you not beat Joe Biden now in a debate? I mean, these guys can't even put words together. And part of me still wonders if it's all an act. Was George W. Bush the character he played as a mockery on the nation? He seemed to get dumber with time and just... They both had their moments where they're walking out the wrong prompt door. Again, there's so many parallels between all these just little sick jokes, recurring jokes with these people in the highest office of the land that are supposed to represent us. But okay, that was 2004. So then 2008. So what do we get in 2008? It's 10 years since the song went all over the radio. Changes, the big hit song by Tupac. About 2 years after his death, it just took over the radio. They still played on the radio. Changes. A lot of memorable lyrics in the song, including "We still ain't seen a black president," right? The song's coming out in 98. Here we are a decade later, 2008. Hope and change. Obama, the first black president, elected number 44. 44 years after the Civil Rights Act. When, of course, the most famous civil rights leader, MLK, was killed on 4/4, April 4th. And there's so much to this number 44. But just to keep it short and simple, again, it's a fateful number. Malcolm X was killed on a 44 date numerology. His assassin, Thomas Hagen, his name has the gematria 44. And I got to go back and double check. I want to say he did 44 years in prison, the shooter of... The guy who said he was responsible for the shooting of Malcolm X, Thomas Hagen. And I believe he had 4 children in the time he was in prison too, which just makes you wonder, it's like, was he even in prison, man? 4 children while in prison. But yeah, this Biden thing. We're going to get into it a little bit more. And then I also got to talk about Elon Musk, him turning 53 today. That means a year from today, Elon Musk will turn 54 years old. June 28th, 2025, 1 year from today. Think about it. In the film They Live, the enemy of the world is Cable 54, and they plan to have total control over the world, mass mind control, by 2025, right? And this is the guy that's building Neuralink to get people hooked up, essentially with computers like the internet. They market the good side of it, how you could turn yourself into an AI and have so much more information, be able to speak all these different languages. I mean, yeah, you think about that, it's like, that's awesome. That would be so cool to be able to communicate with all the people of the world. I mean, if this is possible. But again, the technology is a double-edged sword, and who controls it can also make sure that they're controlling, a lot more than you realize. Just like how these companies now pay for so much data and information from what people do on their computers. Again, it's one of the biggest currencies of our time, if not the biggest currency. But Elon Musk, he's big in this big tech data gathering information age. He's Mr. Neuralink. He's Mr. Sending he's got the plan to send the rocket to Mars. There's some old book, right, about a mission to Mars, and the main character's name is also Elon. I'm gonna go back and look at that. But yeah, the thing that's so wild about having done this now for over a decade and just witnessing things, like, it stood out to me at the time that when I got deleted, it was on Elon Musk's birthday, because we were pointing out how it seemed like he was such a puppet on the world stage. But then he takes over Twitter, and they market it in the media as he's going to open up free speech, but that could be dangerous. And it might be true that he has opened up lanes for certain types of information on Twitter, now X, that maybe wasn't allowed a year or two ago. But I can tell you from the stuff I post, there's been a lot more censorship. I can't use certain phrases and words that I used to always use. It just automatically, you get a warning that because of this phrasing, you need to edit this for people to see your post. I mean, that's the one thing that I actually like about how they operate, though. It's like, okay, I know I'm getting censored. It's just right in my face as soon as I post it, and it's telling me exactly what it wants me to get rid of or say this way. But it's like, wow, so it's going to make me, it's going to, at some point, make me control what I tweet out, what I message out to the world based on what they wanted to say or not say. And his platform's been doing that way more to the type of stuff I post since he took over. And I also look back about how I got deleted along a lot of other people again on 2017 on June 28th. And that was very frustrating for a lot of us because we'd never been wiped out. You know, when I got taken out, I had a channel and a backup channel. And both of them got taken out. The first one got taken out June 28th, the main channel, and the backup got taken out, I forget, maybe not even a week later. But yeah, it was just many years of work, and it was like approaching 6,000 videos at the time, and just a ton of work. And I never monetized any of it. I never tried to make any money on any of it. And back then when I got views too, it could have been quite profitable based on what YouTube pays for ads. But yeah, just to get it all wiped out. And when they took it down, it was for several strikes. My channel went from having a clean slate just days earlier to just getting 3 strikes for all older content, 2 of them having to do with things I've always pointed out about Sandy Hook. And again, it's like, wow, you're just going to destroy a channel of nearly 6,000 videos for video. I'm getting taken down for videos that are 2, 3, 4, 5 years old between the 3 of them. Again, it's just ridiculous. And it felt so intentional at the time, too, because I told people I was just going to take a little break to put the finishing touches on my first book, Letters and Numbers. And what happened, though, because of that is when they deleted the whole channel, I didn't have any other way to really promote the book. YouTube was the only thing I was doing in social media at the time. And I was learning so much at that same time I was finishing the book. I just decided to write way more and build more on my examples. And if you've never read my first book, it's nearly 800 pages long, but I ended up making a couple chapters in there, over 100 pages long, about murder by numbers and mass shootings by the code. And again, I'm glad I did, because anyone who's ever taken the time to read that book, they see how heavily I've emphasized like how they just keep using 44 over and over in shootings. And we continue to show that day after day, mass shooting after mass shooting, right up to the present. But anyway, hold on. Elon Musk and Donald Trump, they are both, and Joe Biden as well, and even RFK Jr.'s we'll get to. They're all part of this Club 54, Cable 54, They Live thing. Again, if you've never seen They Live, it's about how people are under mass hypnosis, and it doesn't end until the media is stopped. Once the media's signal's cut off, people break out of it, and they see things for what they are for the first time in their life. But it's Cable 54 that's controlling the minds of the world. And there's some dialogue by the people that are the they in the film about how they're going to have full control over everybody by 2025. So I do find this funny about Elon Musk, Mr. Technology, the guy who did the Tucker Carlson thing, what was it, last spring, or probably April-ish 2023. And he was talking, their interview was so much focused on aliens, and Elon Musk saying how he's the closest human to aliens and having intel about aliens on Earth. So if you haven't seen They Live, the They Club are also aliens. It's a cult classic. It doesn't mean the world is run by aliens like it's a David Icke confirmation. It's just that the movie, the idea of the movie, how there is a they that is using screens to keep people in hypnosis unless you have the way to see through it. But yeah, the other thing about Elon Musk turning 54 and what I'm saying about maybe how he's doing censorship, like to a certain community, he is reopening the lane for them. So they're like, yeah, I can post this again about this. And I agree, for some people in some lanes, that this is probably working out since he's taken over. But for somebody like me, again, I faced way more censorship. Look, I didn't start using Twitter a lot until maybe 2 or 3 years ago. And in the time before he had it, there were probably 2 or 3 times that I got some kind of notification that this post needed to be taken down or this was not accepted. I mean, that's almost nothing compared to YouTube, because YouTube, it's happened 1,000 times. It's probably an underestimate. It's probably a severe underestimate. But since Elon Musk has taken over, which now has been what? It was, remember, he offered $54 per share April 14th, 2022. We'll get back to that and the significance of that date. But, oh, shoot. Yeah, just he offered the $54 a share on a very Jesuit day in history. Remember, the Jesuits, their headquarters is at the Church of the Jesuit, Building 54. In Gematria, Jesuit order equals 54. John Carroll equals 54. He's the Jesuit who established the first Jesuit university in the United States at age 54. There's something very special about this 54 to the Jesuits and their repetitive rituals. So Elon Musk, who ended up taking over this platform where, like here, just to give you an example of something that I cannot write on Twitter anymore. If I write synagogue of Satan, that phrase gets my post blocked, and I have to take that phrase out or reword it for the post to be visible to others. I mean, it's like, really, I can't write the phrase synagogue of Satan? I mean, it's from the Bible. As a researcher, I can't quote from the Bible and show how this verse corresponds with these rituals that keep happening. Now that's a reason. So there's been several things like that. So the one thing that I will say that I like about, again, how they censor is they show you right up front what you cannot do. It's not like some game with YouTube where 6 months after you make the video, 3 years after you make the video, a year and a half after you make the video, all of a sudden you're suspended for a week because you just got a strike for this old video that's been up all this time. And then you come out of suspension and it's 4 days in and you're posting, and then you get struck again for a video that's 2 years old, and now you're suspended 2 weeks on the verge of deletion. And then back from 2017 up through 2020, it was just delete, delete, delete. That's how I got up to channel number 25 where I am now. But yeah, it all started on Elon Musk's birthday. And we'll come back to how it was his 46th birthday that a lot of us got wiped out in 2017. Come back to that one as well. All roads lead to Rome, as we'll get to it, and these patterns do go together. Okay, so yesterday, Biden, Trump, on June 27th, the day leaving 187 days left in the year. Very fateful number. Again, CNN, who hosted the debate, had an article up all day comparing the debate to 1960 with JFK, who died at 46, like Joe Biden's number 46, the only two Catholic presidents. But they were comparing this debate to that one in 1960. And remember, this is the 60th election in 1860 and 1960. Election of Lincoln, election of Kennedy, both in the year 60, 100 years apart. Now the 60th election, both of those elections led to assassinations. RFK Jr. trying to get in the race, whose father was assassinated in 68 on the campaign trail. Funny enough, RFK, who was assassinated, has the November 20th birthday, just like Joe Biden. We're going to watch this clip that really summarizes. This was like the pinnacle moment of the worst he did. There were several moments that were bad. I ended up watching it through the RFK responding. RFK, I just wanted to see how he would handle it. He had his event, The Real Debate, where they were showing the CNN questions, what Trump and Biden said, and then he would respond with the same 2-minute timer. Not a bad way to respond when you're trying to get in the race in the information age. What was sad, though, I guess in a way, is how few people were tuned in online to it, seemingly. Unless the number was huge on X. I didn't see that. I guess it was streamed on X, but I noticed on YouTube it didn't have a ton of views. So anyway, today's date numerology, the day that Biden acknowledges that he didn't do very well, and the day that the media really speculates that, could they just have to get him out of there and replace him? CNN yesterday began, just before Trump and Biden took stage, who CNN was talking to was Gavin Newsom. Of course, Jesuit educated at Santa Clara, current governor of California, 56 years old, like 56 years ago, was 68, that fateful year for RFK and MLK. Remember, Joe Biden in Gematria equals 44. He was the VP to number 44. Obama, who again took office 44 years after the Civil Rights Act. But yeah, coming back to the 78 piece. This ritual today, the day after the debate, where you're getting all this media scrutiny for how Biden performed, the 78 date numerology. We've been talking about how important 78 is, why it matters that Biden took office at age 78, why it matters that Trump just turned 78 years old this month, June 14th, 2024, when there's 78 cards in the tarot deck, and the top cards are Trump cards. Again, how this 78th NBA season concluded with the only team in the league whose full name equals 78, Boston Celtics, winning, and Game 1 was on their 78th birthday, and it was the 78th game of the playoffs, and they had to fudge Game 4, the spacing of days, so that it would be on Trump's 78th birthday, and that was the day the Mavericks got their only win, when their star player, Luka Doncic, is from Slovenia, and he wears 77 like the series was. Trump was 77 when the series began. He turned 78 the day of that game. But again, Trump's wife is from Slovenia, and his son, Barron Trump, with Melania, it has dual citizenship in both countries, and the finals began 78 days after Barron Trump's birthday. And the Celtics had played 78 games in the year the day Jerry West died at 86, like how the term finals was coined in 86, and that year Boston beat the other Texas team, Houston. The year Len Bias died in a big old ritual. But Joe Biden, again, his Secret Service name is Celtic, and John Havlicek of the Celtics died the day that Joe Biden announced he was running for president. And, Jason Tatum, it was so scripted around him, he got his 45th playoff loss and his one loss in the finals on number 45's birthday, Trump. Again, moved to his 78th birthday. Just all this stuff, perfectly high ritual where numbers are so important. So this crucial response from the president himself today, the day after the debate, that, yeah, he sees where he kind of dropped the ball. Here's the deal. Joe Biden's line, here's the deal. He doesn't lose that one. It's like it's the phrase he utters to get back on topic. Like for me, I'm always like, anyway. Okay, anyway. Don't forget, the Celtics came into the series versus the Mavericks. JFK from Massachusetts, dead in Dallas. They came in 46-40. 86 games played before Jerry West got 86, and then it was a repeat kind of again in 1986 where Celtics beat a Houston team, or a Texas team. They did beat the Houston Rockets in 86. This year they beat the Dallas Mavericks. But yeah, they came in with 46 wins, like Biden number 46, like JFK killed at 46, like in Gematria, Celtics equals 46, like Catholic, going with the 46 books in the Catholic Old Testament. And then the whole Kennedy thing, Kennedy equals 78, like Jesuit, like NBA Finals. Again, the Celtics outscored the Mavericks by 12 points over the whole series. The 78 is the 12th triangular number, meaning if you add 1 through 12 together, it's 78. So, and again, this mega ritual going down with all this stuff, all these little things they've been putting together. Going down while Biden's 81 years old. And notice, we thought there'd be some big fireworks and maybe Biden being replaced sometime around the start of June, about June 1st, 2024 this year. And notice a bunch of crazy things have happened since that moment in history. Right at that time, you have the Trump guilty verdict and the Hunter guilty and just, this first ever, that's something they did about the debate, you guys. Again, this is the earliest presidential debate in history. And it's the first one that didn't use this debate commission since it started in 1960 when Kennedy and Nixon had the first televised one. And realize it is 64 years later. That's interesting. That's a fateful number. And Joe Biden does have that 64. Just like civil rights, like Barack Hussein Obama. Again, in Gematria. Don't forget this one, actually. Last year, Maui burns down in something that's just super suspicious. Again, if you've not seen my work on what happened in Maui, the events there, it's sick, you guys, and it had a lot to do with history and the U.S. securing Hawaii for military purposes, and then the fire ending on the anniversary of us bombing Nagasaki at the end of World War II. But if you missed what they did last year in Hawaii, after the fires, they sent Joe Biden to Hawaii to talk about it August 21st, 13 days after the fire began, when Hawaii was overthrown by the Committee of 13, this political outfit. Again, the land of 13 stripes, 13 colonies, 13 years of slave school. K to 12, they didn't tell you about the 13 colonies and the overthrown Hawaii, or what Teddy Roosevelt has said about how you would need Hawaii to keep Asians from taking over the world. It's such an important military position. Again, all this forgotten history. But they sent Joe Biden to Hawaii for the state's 64th birthday. Remember, Obama's supposedly from Hawaii. Barack Hussein Obama equals 64, like Joe Biden, like civil rights, like the Civil Rights Act in 64. Lahaina was the old capital of the people who were there before the U.S. came and took over. Lahaina is the old capital. It gets burned down in a very symbolic ritual. Civil rights are usually for minority groups. If I'm not mistaken, based on how many people have moved to Hawaii, I think they become the minority group, even though they're the true, ancestors of the land in the times that we're aware of. But just for one more about the 78 thing, today is 7 months and 8 days after Biden's birthday. November 20th, today's June 28th. And there's a few other things that are interesting about this, but I just wanted to focus on this symbolic date. Biden with this big acknowledgement. The ongoing pattern of that same number. So, Gavin Newsom, Gavin Newsom's 56 years old. Very special number to the Jesuits. Society of Jesus equals 56, like Washington, D.C. When he locked down California, the first governor to lock down his state for the pandemic, he said 56% will get the virus in 8 weeks, which is 56 days. Trump's Jesuit education at Fordham in 64 is when it began. It was 56 years since that in 2020. He went to Fordham like Cuomo, the 56th governor of New York. The first COVID case up in Seattle in the time of the 56th mayor, Jenny Durkin, who's part of that Jesuit education fraternity. She's been a Jesuit volunteer as a youth. And, then the next case of COVID in the U.S. was in Chicago in the time of the 56th mayor, Lori Lightfoot, who has the same birthday as Obama, who won the 56th election. And again, there's a reason for all these things, like Black Lives Matter equaling 56, and then painting Church Street with Black Lives Matter on the 5th day of the 6th month after the George Floyd killing. And again, Church Street, like the Jesuits who serve the Catholic Church. Ronald Reagan equals 56. He died on that day in history, the 5th day of the 6th month. He's got the parallels to Trump. Again, it's 56 years since RFK's assassination. And Gavin Newsom, 56 years old. Gavin Newsom on CNN before the debate being interviewed, talking about how he's fully behind Biden. Biden's going to show him that he's still competent. There's a reason he's been around so long. All these really dumb arguments they're throwing out there. It's like, okay, yeah, he's been here a long time. Does that help support if in the moment he's where he should be to be commander-in-chief? I mean, this is an important position. Don't we want somebody of able body and mind? I mean, Joe Biden doesn't look too good right now. He could live 10 more years. Some people will surprise you. But is he in the frame of mind for those next 10 years where you want him? Again, we're going to watch the clip that was very near the beginning while talking about Social Security. It just seems so symbolic when he really dropped the ball. He dropped the ball a lot, but the worst moment, if you haven't seen it, we're going to play it. Just all these headlines. And here, I'm going to play the clip, and then I want to come back on why Fox News highlighted today as one of their top things in their cycle. While I'm always working on my stuff, I'm playing the news in the background, listening. They had TJ Ward on talking about why you're deaf, dumb, and blind if you're going to support Biden in this election. And it's like, okay, yeah, that is true, but there's another half to that quote. You're deaf, dumb, and blind if you're going to support Donald Trump in this election or Joe Biden. And I'd say even RFK Jr. There's a reason all these guys are little Jesuit-educated men in their perfect little chess piece rituals, like how RFK Jr. officially got in the race on the 5th day of the 4th month, April 5th, 2023, in a Jesuit mega ritual. Again, Jesuit order, the big way is 144, the small way 54, Dealey Plaza's 54, where JFK was killed, Ambassador Hotel's 54, where his father was killed, Jesuit order 54. When RFK Jr. got in the race, again, it was 144 days after the Superior General's birthday. His father died at 1:44 a.m. officially. JFK died 144 days from meeting with the Pope, and just before his death, he lost his infant child on August 9th, the day leaving 144 days left in the year. Same day in history, Richard Nixon resigned, and Nixon lost to Kennedy in 60. So when when Nixon didn't finish his term, it was a 144 ritual, and for him, he said it was character assassination. He didn't die, but his legacy was tarnished. He said, "I'm not a crook." But remember, again, Jesuit Georgetown simulated the 2020 election that Biden would win June 12th, 2020, 144 days before the November 3rd election. This year's election on November 5th, a day associated with the Jesuits trying to blow up British Parliament and King James, November 5th. Remember the 5th of November. That's 144 days after Trump's birthday. And Biden was with the Pope on Trump's birthday 144 days before the election. It's like, what's up with that? Remember, President Biden equates to 144 as well, like Jesuit order, like Kennedy curse. He has the same birthday as RFK. RFK Jr. Has been asking Joe Biden. If you guys don't know what RFK Jr. is doing today, he's all over getting out the message that he wants Joe Biden to make a pledge that if they're the two front runners for seemingly the Democratic Party, one of them will drop out at the beginning of October, because it should be clear by then who is the more supported candidate by the people of this nation. Is it RFK Jr. or is it Joe Biden? And again, they put all this stuff out there to get people emotionally invested. And you know, RFK Jr. for a lot of people is this great hope right now. Like a Ron Paul's been seen, like a Ralph Nader's been seen, like a Bernie Sanders has been seen by some. Some people think Donald Trump, they're getting it right now. He's the first winner of these ones, the types of people. That's how some people see Trump. But yeah, anyway, symbolically bad day for Trump, or not for Trump, excuse me, for Biden. And what we were pointing out again yesterday, the debate June 27th was 220 days after Joe Biden's birthday. Donald Trump's full name, Donald John Trump, has that Gematria 220. And Inauguration Day falls 220 days after Trump's birthday. And again, his wife, who fell down the stairs. Remember, I meant to remind you guys everything that was wrong with Ivana's death, including her dying 144 days after her birthday. But notice her birthday is 220. And again, she died 45 years after her marriage to Trump in 1977, dying in 2022. And of course, Trump was number 45. When she died, it was the first ever Jesuit Ignatian year, which went more than a full calendar year. It ended July 31st, 2022. It began May 20th, 2021. She died exactly 60 weeks, again, into the Ignatian year, on the same day that Trump was in the election cycle before the news of her death, saying that he will run in the next election, which was the 60th election. Plus in Gematria, Donald Trump equals 60. But again, for years, they've also compared Trump to George Wallace, the 45th governor of Alabama, who was shot on the campaign trail. And he was part of a very divisive 1968 year, that infamous year. And don't forget, Donald John Trump, the small way, is also 68. Donald John Trump, 68. 1984 became the bestseller out of nowhere, just days after Trump became president, when Trump made his comment about how he wants to censor his critics. And it was the 68th anniversary of the publishing of Orwell. And again, a lot of us got wiped out for the first time the year that Donald Trump took office, who said he wanted to wipe out his critics. I'll tell you what, my channel was very critical of him, just like it was very critical of Obama before that, Because I'm not after political parties. I'm talking about how you can see how perfectly planned and scripted things are, and all the history and tributes they're paying to the past, while also projecting the future. Again, we were pointing out way before the 2020 election why it mattered that it was exactly 46 weeks after the Pope's birthday, and Biden could be number 46, and lie at the death of his son Beau Biden at 46, and JFK's assassinated at age 46. So many parallels to that. But, yeah, again, Ivana's death, she died July 14th. That day can be written 14/7, like 147. If you look it up, there's 147 windows on the White House. The building for the president, and funny enough, President of the United States in Gematria is 147. The small way, big way, just U.S. President is 147. The word Freemason is 147 as well. D.C., the Masonic City. Funny enough, the word conspiracy is 147. And imagine if you wanted to be successful in conspiracy, wouldn't it be good to have an order based in secrecy that's effective, that has people in positions of power where they do have enough leverage in wherever they are in the world to cause real change in the public that's used for their benefit, their wealth, their control, their legacy? So yeah, anyhow, this Trump 220 thing yesterday with the debate made it look like, okay, it looks like it's another thing pointing to Trump. And again, for years we've been saying why it would make so much sense if Donald Trump became president-elect at age 78, in light of how Cleveland, just like Kennedy, equates to 78. Because again, the only president to have a split term is Grover Cleveland, who was the 22nd and 24th president. Trump announced in 2022 officially for running in 2024, the year his wife died. But if Biden doesn't finish his term, it's possible that Trump also becomes the 48th president, which is interesting because Cleveland, the small way, is 48, just like Donald Trump, the small way, is 48. And again, he had his convention in Cleveland in 2016, the GOP convention, which began July 18th, 18/7, like 187 days from Inauguration Day, just like their debates on the day, leaving 187 days left in the year. Again, Washington, D.C. equals 187. George Washington, 187. Holy Roman Empire, 187. Society of Jesus, 187. That's the Jesuits. Ruth Bader Ginsburg, her recent 187 ritual, dying 187 days after her birthday on Rosh Hashanah, the Jewish New Year, and getting replaced by a Catholic. Jew replaced by essentially a Christian or / Catholic. Again, yes, I know there is a difference, but again, there's also a major relationship with Christianity and Catholicism through the belief in Jesus. Catholic Church gets into a bunch of other things, and again, the Catholic Church did begin worshiping the sun. Don't forget the word sun equals 54, like Jesuit order, and their logo is the sun, and they're the military order of the church. But, oh shoot, I lost my train of thought again. Anyway, here, I've been too long-winded. Let's watch this clip real quick of the debate last night. We're probably going to watch about a minute and a half, 2 minutes of this. Pay attention. The volume should be good. And again, this was the very low light for Joe Biden. This is where the majority of people's criticism is going to come from this moment. It seems symbolic talking about Social Security, and it was very early in the debate too, so you didn't have to watch much to catch this. I want to say this was around the 10-minute mark, somewhere near the beginning. And the reason it's longer on here is because this is through the RFK Jr. debate response, where he's also putting in his 2 minutes responding to questions. So let's take a listen.
All of the things he's done, we've become like a third world nation, and it's a shame. The damage he's done to our country, and I'd love to ask him, and will, why he allowed millions of people to come in here from prisons, jails, and mental institutions to come into our country and destroy our country.
President Trump, we will get to immigration later in this block. President Biden, I want to give you an opportunity to respond to this question about the national debt.
He had the largest national debt of any president in a 4-year period, number one. Number two, that $2 trillion tax cut benefited the very wealthy. What I'm going to do is fix the tax system. For example, we have 1,000 trillionaires in America. Billionaires in America. And what's happening? they're in a situation where they in fact pay 8.2% in taxes. If they just paid 24% or 25%, either one of those numbers, they'd raise $500 million, billion dollars, I should say, in a 10-year period. We'd be able to wipe out his debt. We'd be able to help make sure that all those things we need to do, child care, elder care, making sure that we continue to strengthen our healthcare system, making sure that we're able to make every single solitary person eligible for what I've been able to do with the with the COVID. Excuse me, with dealing with everything we have to do with. Look, if we finally beat Medicare.
Thank you, President Biden. President Trump?
Well, he's right. He did beat Medicare. He beat it to death, and he's destroying Medicare because.
See, I mean, it's just like too easy. It's just after the long stutter and lost train of thought, we beat Medicare. It's almost like a sick joke. It really is. And again, I'll remind you guys, there's people in Hollywood that are acting well into their 80s. I do wonder if this is the real Joe Biden and that's just the actual massive joke on us, or if he's even playing up the part. Because there wasn't any other moment where he was this off the ball in the rest of the debate. It's like, ooh, man, to start off like this. This is that setup that it seemed with it being 220 days after his birthday. But yeah, also so symbolic. I mean, it's obvious that what they did in 2020 was targeted. It's not just in 2020, you guys. It's been going on, man. I always feel something I'll always feel bad about, and it just my grandmother, who was always just so she got sick for a long time. She didn't eat well or take care of herself, but she has good genes because she lived well into her 80s, and again, pretty much a life that you would look at, you think, oh, that person's probably not gonna make it in their 80s, drinking, smoking all the time, just eating like nothing really healthy, not getting enough movement. She would get ill almost every year in flu season, but she would pull through. And the year that she passed, I felt bad because she ended up going in a nursing home that year, and man, she didn't even live 3 full months in the nursing home. And I was blown away by how fast she went because she didn't seem like she was anywhere near. Just it didn't feel like that. It felt like, okay, she's getting up in her 80s, but she still seems like the same person, same spirit, talks the same way. But man, in the nursing home, what I learned in the nursing home is the way they dope these people up and all the morphine. I think the stuff that they're just part of the whatever it is, FDA approved protocol. I think like you really take some scrutiny to that. You're like, these are not good ideas. These things are going to make people expire faster than they need to. But then you look at it from a government standpoint where they have these crazy bills to play for Social Security. You can see how, you got wolves guarding the hen house. They're like, listen, let's make a little clever policy here that looks like we're taking care of these people's pain needs, but we're also taking care of our bills because we're going to be knocking years off the payments if you follow what I'm saying. Okay? So, yeah, just watching this Joe Biden moment and that, I was like, okay. I mean, God. Symbolic, highly symbolic at the very least. And again, it's always symbolism on us. I didn't even finish going through all the presidencies. I didn't even finish going through the presidents in my lifetime. 2008, Obama changes. I have to jump back to 2012. What did they have you do in 2012? They had you do Obama versus the Mormon guy, Mitt Romney. And again, Mormonism, they've changed their ways because they realize they can recruit way more in the darker complected category with some modern day changes to the revelations from the angel. What is it, Moroni? The angel Moroni, is that what it is? To Joseph Smith. Again, the old Mormon thing was very white because the belief in the religion was that the closer to God you are, the whiter your skin is. And I mean, just think about it, okay? What is this religion implying about darker complected people? They must be the furthest away from God. Oh my God, look how dark that one is. So anyway, you think about it. You got the black president 10 years after changes. he gets in there. Remember in 2008, the entire Democratic Party, they took over the House, the Senate, the Oval Office. They all ran on Obama didn't, but the rest of the party was. The other people were getting the attention where they were running on really winding down these wars drastically, bringing these wars to a halt, and then they escalated the wars once they got in there in a big way. Just reminding you what a joke this two-party system is, and how we always seem to have the same problems every election cycle, so people can get hung up on the same topics. Social Security, abortion, climate change. I mean, really, that's been it for all my adult lifetime. The border and the border wall. I mean, when I was in high school in the 90s, every year we had a week where we debated. It was voluntary. Your teachers appreciated it if you stepped in and said something, but the open mic, this side if you're more leaning, the Republican way, this way mic if you're more leaning the Democrat way, and why. And every year, I mean, we'd be talking about the border wall. It's really 30 years later now, and it was going on before that. It's just actually, guys, it really started going on around that time in an escalated way, because go back and look at what politicians warned about in the 90s with NAFTA. They said if you pass this NAFTA bill, it's going to put so many farmers out of work in Mexico. It will destroy towns, a lot of people's lives. What will these people do? A lot of people predicted, well, they're going to have to come to America. They're going to have to come to America and work. Again, don't think these things are by accident. It's all carefully planned policy. Shout out to the Mexican people. I really like Mexican people. When they get Americanized, they change. But people from Mexico, for the most part, and again, I mean, there's exceptions to the rule, but in my lifetime, people from Mexico, very nice, honest, hardworking people. They work hard and they don't ask for a lot. And part of the reason why is also the difference in economies, because they can come here and they're proud to earn minimum wage, working their ass off, because it's way more than they'd make in Mexico, and they can send back and help their family. So it's like when people are making decisions on global levels and global trade deals, and they realize that by doing that, it's going to change this price of this product, which is going to destroy all these people who won't be able to survive anymore. And it's done anyway. I mean, that means y'all voted on that knowing that they had good information that they were really going to mess up Mexico and create a real reason for, northward immigration, illegal crossings. All this stuff was talked about and debated 30 years ago. And now people still talk about it like they don't have a clue. And it's so obvious that all these politicians are owned by these companies that are more powerful than the Oval Office. We learned that in the Trump administration. Big Tech said, "Oh, sorry, Mr. President, you don't have the right to talk on our platform anymore." It's like, whoa. Yeah, maybe Trump is crazy. Maybe he is a nonstop liar and con man. He always has to say, he's the worst, I'm the best. It's like, what are we? It's like listening to Trump is like really feeling like you're in elementary school. Everything is, I'm the best, you're the worst. It's just like, listen, anyone who thinks, Here, I don't support either candidate. They're both horrible. Nobody should support them. If you think Donald Trump is who you want to vote in to save America, did you forget what happened in 2020? See, this is the problem of swallowing media bullshit and not using your own mind. You probably believed the whole story in 2020 about the killer cooties. They had to shut down the nation because people died in the nursing home in Bill Gates' backyard, like right behind his mansion. With the big needle next to his foundation, and you couldn't see all the jokes, and what Bill Gates said exactly a decade before cooties came to his city, right after the Event 201 simulation, which he co-sponsored. If you can't see what I've been laying down about how all of these goons are so perfectly connected, including Trump, and then Trump doing Operation Warp Speed on Mercuralia about mercury. Remember in 2012, Google took down all the videos talking about mercury and vaccines. Just all white from the board overnight. Sorry, Jenny McCarthy. You're not worthy of YouTube anymore, talking about what you're saying with your child and other parents who've had similar things. You guys, I also used to manage a children's home for autistic children, and several of the parents had the same story about how it happened around age 2 where their child drastically changed. And in one, it's crazy because you can see the early pictures and then you can see something definitely changed about I don't even want to get into it because you're not allowed to talk about things on Google. Again, it's medical misinformation to share the stories of parents that all seem to kind of confirm the same thing that obviously must be false. Anyway, people like Trump and all this, they haven't done anything about this. If I became president when Trump did, I would have been talking about that. I'd say, listen, I think we need to get all the Jenny McCarthy videos back up, even if she is wrong. This is America, free speech. If a parent feels that they can share some information that might save the next child from going through the same thing. If you guys don't know about all this and the MMR shot and the one that's like 2 at once and some again, came time out. I guess it's all medical misinformation, even though it seemingly isn't. But yeah, these people haven't said a peep about that. And when big tech started to destroy people's content online with censorship all over, Donald Trump didn't say anything about it until he got censored himself, which was also highly symbolic. Again, the guy who came into office saying he wanted to get rid of SNL, and then all of a sudden 1984 is the bestseller. Again, Trump's the guy who sacrificed his ex-wife 144 days after her birthday. And I just saw somebody in the chat says, Zach, you missed it. Today's 144 days before Biden's upcoming birthday. Is that right? Good eyes if that's true. Yeah, you might very well be correct. Biden's birthday is November 20th, so later this year. Let's see. Well, I'm seeing it's 145 days, which is also an interesting number. Tomorrow's 144 days. Tomorrow will be 144 days. Interesting. But the 145, you guys are new here. Joe Biden's number 46. The numbers 46 and 145 fit together in gematria. Catholic equals 145 the big way, 46 the small way. There's 145 more chapters in the Catholic Old Testament, 46 books in the Catholic Old Testament. Crazy things happening in Israel in the time of number 46, when Israel's birthday is the 14th day of the 5th month. So, yeah. Getting all these headlines today. President refuses to drop out of race, makes admission about widely panned debate performance. Okay, but TJ Ward, Fox News featuring TJ Ward. So, here, look at this. Just here, in real time, let's go to Football Reference. Let's look up TJ Ward, who won Super Bowl 50, hosted in San Francisco, where he grew up. I want you to see that today... Okay, so, all right. Let's rewind. It matters that TJ Ward is from San Francisco and he won Super Bowl 50 because it was played in Santa Clara, where the 49ers stadium's been moved to, where Gavin Newsom went to school, where last year the Smash Mouth singer died right before the 49ers Smash Mouth defense season got underway. Again, the most feared defense in San Francisco that'll hit you the hardest with the hype last year was the Niners, who again made it to the Super Bowl. Smash Mouth is football terminology. He died at 56, that major Jesuit number, like Gavin Newsom's 56 right now. But yeah, TJ Ward from San Francisco, the election, his 38th birthday will be a span of 38 days from the election. Remember, election equals 38, Colorado equals 38. He played for the Denver Broncos. Colorado's the 38th state. They won Super Bowl 50 in San Francisco, where he's from, or in Santa Clara, actually, but the 49ers Stadium on the 38th day of the year, February 7th. Again, that was the golden anniversary of the Super Bowl. Gold equals 38. Colorado's up in the mountains where the gold is. They win over the Panthers, which equals 38, and they lost in Super Bowl 38. The Panthers did to Brady in the Super Bowl. Always a big number with the Panthers is 38. They did the huge ritual with Trump being taken off the ballot and then reinstated in Colorado. Big 38 ritual. And then the shooting at the courthouse 44 weeks before the election to the day. He was the 38th pick of the draft, TJ Ward, right? 38th pick. It's a big election number. It's also a big death number. Death, murder, killing, RIP, they all equal 38. When JFK was announced dead, Walter Cronkite said, some 38 minutes ago. Back then, that's how it was broken. One anchor. One anchor broke the news to the nation, and then it was syndicated. And he began it. Some 38 minutes ago, JFK died. So he has this mega 38 connection. And he's from Oregon, which also equals 38. Out of the 50 states, there are 5 that equal 38. They're Florida. Florida and Panthers both equal 38. They just won the Stanley Cup right after the death of Fulio, the rapper, in a 38 ritual, R.I.P. And then Roman Reigns' father just died. They're from Florida. Dead at 79 days after Roman Reigns' birthday, when Murder and Society of Jesus got that 79 connection. But, yeah, TJ Ward, he was on that team. And remember, Super Bowl 50 was the 46th Super Bowl in the modern era. And if you were watching my big stream at the time on breaking down the Super Bowl, it was crazy how many 199 rituals they had in that Super Bowl, because, again, it's the 46th prime number. And Levi's Stadium equals 46. That's where Super Bowl 50 was played. Super Bowl 50 was the 46th Super Bowl of the modern era. The modern era is always 4 years behind the Super Bowl count. So this year, Super Bowl 59, it'll be the 55th Super Bowl of the modern era. But yeah, out of all the people that they could have got in the world of sports and entertainment, they grabbed TJ Ward. And this is the point I'm making, because this is what I've been noticing over the years from researching this. The numbers are just, the rituals are just too obvious and too specific. We're documenting all year what this 38's about. This guy couldn't be any more 38. And again, he won that Super Bowl down where Gavin Newsom was, who's on CNN right before the debate, talking about how he's fully behind Biden and he's going to be good. It's just totally bullshitting people. God, if Gavin Newsom ends up becoming the nominee, here, I'll tell you guys something that's sad that happened last year. Last year when we went down to the Lakers playoff game to educate about the death of Kobe Bryant, on the way there I stopped through all the other big towns in California. And the day we were in front of the governor's not the mansion, we were in front of the Capitol building in Sacramento, there was a group there. And we started talking to the group. There were lots of them. There's buses of people who've been bused there from all over the country, flew in, and then the buses, all in these yellow T-shirts. And I forget what the name of the group was, but we started talking to people from the group because we wanted to get there and share our information on the speaker in front of the Capitol. But there was this big event going on with the stage. And we started talking to the people in the group, and what the group was about, it was mostly all black people. It might have been entirely black. I think back, I'm like, was anyone there that wasn't black? But it was, once it was either the first or second person we talked to, I was just like, God, okay. They were survivors, but they're families that have survived a killing in their family that is still an unsolved crime. So this is what this group is about. And when the second person was really getting into us and talking about it, they're like, yeah, we're nationwide. We got 44 groups. We got 44 groups in 44 cities, and we're all out here today. And right as she's saying, I'm like, oh my God, man. They have no clue. So anyway, after she got done explaining, I said, well, I appreciate you sharing that with us. And I said, just to share a little bit about what I was trying to do today, we wanted to talk about Gavin Newsom and why when he locked down this state, he uttered this phrase about how 56% will get coronavirus in 8 weeks, and what the meaning of that 56 number is, because 8 weeks is also 56 days. And again, in Gematria, you guys, Gavin Newsom equals 56, like Society of Jesus. Again, Jesuit educated is Gavin Newsom. Coronavirus 56, like COVID vaccine. And the list just goes on. 1,056,000 with the pandemic, but Gavin Newsom really got the ball rolling, being the first governor to lock down a state. And now, while 56 years old, with all these parallels to 56, if you're watching cable news, they're bringing up 1968. They're saying this is probably the most, just polarized year since 68. I mean, they're recreating history. But yeah, TJ Ward, he's from the right city. He was in the right Super Bowl. He has the right numbers. The point I'm making is the people who control the news, to them, they're into the Kabbalah. Again, in Kabbalah, the belief is that God created the world with numbers, letters, words, language. Right in the beginning of the Book of Formation is this idea talked about. If you have not read my first book, I talk about the parallels between the number 26 and Hebrew and English and God, and why there's a 26-letter alphabet, and clearly these tributes to the 26th verse of the Bible where God makes man in God's image. And if you never read my first book, it came out, that chapter was written in 2017, way before Kobe died on the 26th day of the year, but it ends with talking about how Jordan and Kobe are worshipped as gods and how they have this powerful 26 connection. Again, so many things from back then up to now. You learn this code, you look at the world, you just see the recurring patterns and the rituals and how they're putting things together numerically. It's like your numbers up, that phrase. This guy, TJ Ward, turning 38. And by the way, with regards to him being 37, I should make this point as well. Here, let's pull up the Gematria calculator. Again, there's 4 base ciphers of the English language. Joe Biden. Joe Biden has these Gematria values for his name. 64. We talked about how last year he's in Hawaii for the 64th birthday of the state to talk about the fire in Maui 13 days earlier when the Committee of 13 overthrew Hawaiian history. Joe Biden, 37. That's how old he is right now. He's going to turn 38 days from the election. Joe Biden, 152. So many rituals with that. We just had the Chiefs at the White House on the 152nd day of the year to be with the Commander-in-Chief. Joe Biden, when he became president, the first President's Day that year just happened to fall on the 15th day of the second month, the 46th day of the year, but a date written 15/2. On and on and on. Joe Biden, 44. JFK was number 35, the 44th term president, the fateful number connected to killings, but also to him being VP to number 44, who was the result of the civil rights movement in terms of the historical narrative, being elected 44 years again after the Civil Rights Act, when the civil rights leader, the most famous one, was killed 4 years later on 4/4. MLK killed 4 years after the Civil Rights Act on 4/4. Joe Biden with the parallels to Kennedy. CNN making sure you read about it if you're reading the information that they're putting out, talking about it. RFK Jr. in the race brought up the 1960 debate with his uncle and Nixon, and how this year what they're doing, keeping him out. It's just not in the spirit of democracy, which is true. And again, I understand that RFK Jr. is a total Jesuit puppet too, but he's the best one. And again, it's the symbolism. See, because if you watch the news, they'll occasionally refer to RFK Jr. as kind of a kook and a crazy person with some wild ideas, and he's a fringe candidate. They use all this language, these different guests they bring on over the day. So if you're consuming cable news and getting your mind programmed and you're listening and letting what these people tell you become your world opinion, next thing you know, you're trying to like, oh yeah, RFK's kind of kooky though. Kind of kooky. Thought like there was a conspiracy with the COVID. It's like, oh boy. These are the people who are voting for Biden and Trump, right? These are the same type of people. They don't want to see through the game. And people like myself have been working my ass off for over a decade, giving up a great part of some of my best years of life in terms of the pleasures I could have had to put out awesome research and try to educate people about how rigged the game is and why we have to overcome this game and stop getting plagued by this game, because this game has consequences. This government, again, they'll do things like 2020 and put you out of business and put you in a bad spot and cost you your job and your way of life. And a lot of people, a lot of suicides in that time, just they knew that they were bringing darkness on the world. We were talking about the stories as soon as they declared the pandemic on CNN's scroll for the day about how experts predict that maybe as many people will die from suicide, from depression, from things that happen out of the new normal as they actually will do from the virus. It's like, wow, that's the expert opinion. Then why are we locking down the nation if we're going to create as many suicidal people as potentially dead people from a mostly survivable illness? Again, they told us it was 99.9% survivable if you were a typical person. It was killing a lot of overweight people and elderly people. That we had to lock the nation down for that. Again, it is sad, but at some point you got to say, well, listen, if we do this, there could be we could really screw up what we have going in the world for generations. This could hurt way more people, including able-bodied young people right now. It seemed pretty obvious that's what they were trying to do. Now they act like it was all just some big mistake and they had to do what they had to do. They had to pull this lever to save these people. It's like, no, this was all a big game, all a number ritual, like it is day after day with every last damn thing they do. The cabal using Kabbalah, go figure. here, just a reminder, the Smash Mouth singer, he died right before football got underway last year. The spring training was going on when he died. Season was about to kick off. And Steve Harwell, the Smash Mouth singer, he died on the anniversary of another Steve. He died on the anniversary of Steve Irwin. But Stephen Harwell, his birth name, 56, dead at 56. You'll see this so often with entertainers. Very special number to the Jesuits, who have a university in Santa Clara. There's only 27 Jesuit universities in the nation. One is in Santa Clara, where Gavin Newsom went. Also where RFK Jr.'s VP, the girl from the rich tech family, he says it's because they're going to fight, they're going to make AI work for people. I mean, in a way, that's good foresight. It's like, okay, if you got the good person from Silicon Valley who wants to make sure all this crazy emerging technology doesn't ruin humanity, but at the same time, I was like, I don't want to get into that. But remember the ritual with her that we documented. He announced her as his VP nominee, RFK Jr., this Shanahan woman who went to Santa Clara like Newsom, Jesuit educated like how he went to Georgetown Prep, RFK Jr. Again, Trump went to Fordham in New York. Biden went to 2 Jesuit prep schools growing up in the Delaware area. But the day that he announced her for VP was the day the bridge collapsed on Nancy Pelosi's birthday. Remember, they put in the story that the bridge had 56 meters of clearance, and it was hit by that massive ship from Singapore. And if you don't know about my work on that, you got to check it out. There's a reason that the ship was from Singapore. And on Francis Scott Key's birthday, it was the Francis Scott Key Bridge that came down. But on Francis Scott Key's birthday anniversary, which is also Nancy Pelosi's father's birthday anniversary, she was shaking hands with the leader of Singapore 86 weeks before the bridge came down on the 86th day of the year, when Key Bridge equals 86 like Jesuits. Anyway, it was a 56-meter bridge. RFK Jr. announced his VP nominee that day. And the thing was, remember last year on September 16th, he had an assassination scare in LA where his father was killed. And it was 263 days before the 56th anniversary of his father's assassination on the 5th day of the 6th month. And 263 is the 56th prime number. And the day that he announced her for VP was 26th day of the 3rd month, 263, like 263, 56 prime. Are you following me? He did this huge 263, 56 ritual with her and announcing her. And her birthday is the same day that he had the assassination scare last year, September 16th. Again, 263 days it was before the 56th anniversary of his father being shot on the 5th day of June. Again, these guys are all Jesuits. When he gathered people against the mandates in D.C., he did on Georgetown's birthday. He went to Georgetown Prep. That's in Washington, D.C., the 56th city. I don't know why I didn't put Washington, D.C. on this list. But yeah, dead at 56. The Jesuits from Paris, France. Big stronghold in D.C. By the way, they equated Steve Harwell with the Nazis. They said he was going off the rails at the end of his life with some of his rants. Adolf Hitler supposedly died at age 56, modeled the Nazis after the Jesuits. Remember, his birth certificate name, Adolphus Hitler, is 201, like the Jesuit order. Yeah, there was a number of other things interesting about this as well. But one thing we talked about it was right before football season got underway. And here, let me find that part of the post. I showed a lot of things in this post. So again, right here, pointing out how the date he died, September 4th, can be written 9/4. Dead in Santa Clara, California, which has the 94 connection like Roman Catholic Church. Again, you have that death. They end up in the Super Bowl. Norma Hunt died on the 49ers establishment anniversary. She's one of the Chiefs owners. She died on 6/4 before the Chiefs' 64th season where they beat the Niners in the second Joe Montana Bowl. Number 19, Joe Montana for the Chiefs. First team to go back-to-back in 19 years. Kansas City, while Montana's 67, the 19th prime. But yeah, this wasn't an accident. It wasn't an accident at all. And if you want to go back and read the older post, there's even more to his passing. So everything they do is super symbolic. And walking on the sun had to do with the Rodney King riots, in terms of like how them trying to stir up those things with all the racial focus right now, and Joe Biden making things so much about race. And Joe Biden responsible for the 94 crime bill that was very racist in terms of who it put in prison, but then he acts like he's the greatest person to black people because he went to the Oval Office with Obama and Kamala and put the first black woman on the Supreme Court. That's all symbolic. What about the bill that's your legacy that put a lot of dark people needlessly in prison? From way over the top types of measurements that are far from freedom or just. Yeah, again, to vote for any of these people, Donald Trump in the past, he's explained why, sometimes he doesn't like to rent to darker complected people. And, when back in 2015, he was getting headlines when he first announced he was running from headlines like saying, who's doing all the raping? It's the people coming across the border. He brought up that line last night in the debate. He said, these people are coming across the border are raping and killing women. It's right back to where we were in 2015. Again, I remember after COVID, all of a sudden everyone stopped working when stuff came back. Everyone didn't have enough people to get back to business. I've just noticed in that time period, there's a lot of people in the country who don't speak much English, and they're doing the jobs. And in a way, it's like, well, maybe that's why they let so many people in. Maybe the same thing was going on all over the nation. Just people needed workers, and this is a solution. It's not very American or for the preservation of the country, but it keeps business flowing. And we are like a big old business. Hey, well, what's wild is Jesuit order equals 144, like corporation, like the United States of America. And remember, the Jesuits came out of suppression 144 days after James Madison's birthday. The father of the Constitution, who was the president at the time. The January 6th thing, that this is seen as sort of a win for Trump, just kind of like the federal government downplaying this, one of the branches of the federal government downplaying the significance of January 6th. And there's probably a lot more to this. So yeah, I'll have to look more into that one. But that was also in the news today, being overshadowed by the debate. But yeah, one more time, I just want to remind people about Elon Musk, the character, and just the things we've documented about this guy over the years. And when he offered $54 a share for Twitter, he did it on April 14th, 14/4, like 144. Notice $54 a share on that day. And hold on, I'm going to get a drink of water, and then I'm going to tell you what I was doing that day. I was in Oklahoma City. I was just getting into town for what we were going to educate about. I remember this day very well because I just driven all the way from Washington State. I want to be down there before the April 19th gathering, learn some more about the place, check out the museum, and then really educate about, again, just so many things. Joe Biden passed the nation's first counterterrorism legislation on Governor Keating's birthday, the governor of Oklahoma at the time, and his brother put out the book, The Final Jihad, kind of foretelling these events. But yeah, even that building that blew up in Oklahoma City equals 144. The Alfred P. Murrah Federal Building, 144. Anyway, Elon Musk, little Jesuit puppet on strings, offers $54 a share on 14/4, the anniversary of Lincoln being assassinated, the same day he created the Secret Service. Again, Lincoln shot in a theater, of course. Lincoln has the connection back to Obama, who has the connection to Biden. But if you look into the assassination of Lincoln, look up the name John Surratt. Surratt is Surratt. John Surratt. Surratt. And if I'm off on a letter, if I added one extra R, I think it is 2 R's though. But it's going to come up. And you'll see that he's the assassin who escaped and his mother was executed. But some people refer to it as the Jesuit plot. John Surratt was a Jesuit. Lincoln blamed the American Civil War on the Jesuits. Look these things up. They exist. Again, I can't believe people are trying to take clips of my work and saying it's dumb to blame anything on the Jesuits. It's like, well, founders were worried about them. Lincoln was worried, said they were the reason for the Civil War. The same patterns back then are persisting today as history is being recreated. Cable 54, the enemy of the world. Hollywood putting out little hints, almost gloating about feeling like they're unstoppable in terms of the agenda they're achieving. But yeah, I wanted to remind about that. Let me get the drink of water, and then again, I want to talk about what happened to me the day I got into town, because it's all coming back to memory now. So hold on, I'll be right back. And by the way, I think I've been a fool. I think I've had the wrong mic on. I have. I'm gonna switch the mic. It'll sound better for the remainder of the stream. But okay, so I remember when I got into Oklahoma City. The person who does my accounting, or I was living in Yakima at the time. The person who did it then. They called me. It was like probably within an hour of getting to Oklahoma and checking into my hotel. The person who does my accounting called me and said the IRS contacted us with a letter that we received today, and they want this, this, and this. And I was like, what are the odds of this? Like, what are the odds? Like, right as I'm getting into Oklahoma City. And so I had that little busy work and looking this up and getting this and sending this and... But yeah, I'd been announcing all year that I was going down to Oklahoma City to talk about the Jesuits and April 19th, all throughout history, why that date's so important, from the Revolutionary War to Waco to Oklahoma City to a bunch of other things, including what happened in Canada in 2020. They got their gun rights taken away with the guy in the Mountie car driving up and down Route 102, shooting people. April 19th, again, RFK Jr. doing his first speech, the Jesuit product on the big day for Ignatius Loyola. April 19th is the day in history Ignatius Loyola was recognized as the first superior general. But when we were going there to educate about that, the day I get into town, I'm a contact for... the accountant to get this, and this from the IRS. Like, come on. I didn't want to call conspiracy at the time. I was like, it could just be a weird coincidence. But later that year, when I went out to New York, it was actually the next year. The year when I went to New York, when I drove from Seattle to New York, right as I got into New York and posted on social media that I'd made it across the nation, I was in Buffalo. I'd be there for a little bit and then was going to head down to New York City later that day. Right after posting on social media, I got the email from Google that my YouTube channel was demonetized, and that whole channel's been deleted since. They deleted that entire channel 263 days after the September 11th anniversary, where we were out in New York. Well, we were out for more than just September 11th. We were out all the days leading up and all day in New York, September 10th and 11th, educating about the Jesuits and the high rituals and the same numbers over and over. Again, it's just like the flights that hit targets on 9/11. Flights 11, 77, and 175. You add it up, it's 263, the 56 prime. Boeing this year had a massive 263, 56 ritual when they got the attention for the door coming off the plane. Not an accident. Again, all the planes were Boeings on 9/11. And again, they're from Seattle, where the architect for the World Trade Center was from, and Magnuson Klemenkic Associates, the second engineering company hired to build the project. Again, I know I'm being a little bit tangential, but same patterns over and over in high ritual to grab people's attention. It's like spells and spelling and using the same numerical combinations that point back to this order, who again gave us the language, who gave us the calendar, who seemingly put this system in place in the 16th century. Just over and over. It's just... So here, I wanted to go back about other things. Elon Musk, when he was declared the richest man for the first time in the world, it was January 7th, 2021, the anniversary of Nikola Tesla's death. And there were a lot of things here that are interesting. I'm going to scroll down. All this stuff is interesting, but we're scrolling down to right here. Tesla died January 7th, 1943. So 2021 was the 78th anniversary of his death. Tesla and Jesuit 78. This news today with, or just today being Elon Musk's birthday, it's noteworthy that this year he turns 53 on 78 date numerology, beginning his 54th year of life. Again, because he turned 53 today, it begins his 54th year of life. We predicted that 52 would be a very memorable year for him as being a technology guy. If you haven't read my last book, Number Games, I make a big point about technology and 52 and the greater meaning of this number. But the movie everybody knows about technology overtaking man is Terminator, which is another 52. And 2020 was really like the big tech takeover. It was 52 years after 1968, the year 2001: A Space Odyssey came out, the movie about a computer and AI becoming smarter than the man. Again, this idea was in a movie in 1968. 52 years before 2020, when we saw the merger of government and big tech to keep surveillance on people, to censor information. Just the other day, the Supreme Court upholding that a presidential administration has the right to push big tech to censor content they don't want out there for the sake of the nation's well-being. Not for the sake of the First Amendment, that's for sure. And I thought that was the nation's well-being. The things that it's supposed to value. It's like, don't tell me it's about the sake of the nation if it disrespects the first thing on the list the nation's about. But yeah, they lulled everybody to sleep. Everyone's like, oh, our government could never sell us out. We got hot water, good food, good entertainment. We're the world's superpower. We got the biggest military. It's like, okay, I like your rose-tinted glasses and focusing on the positive, because it's true. There's two sides to every coin. But your nation that's number one in power, how has this been maintained? What's been the expense to everyone else in the world? How corrupt is this system? How much are you getting lied to? Do you tolerate a system that lies to you? Anyhow, coming back to Elon Musk being 52 in this year, where we expect him to do something big. Remember, Neuralink implanted their first brain chip while he was 52. And as we talked about with Neuralink, it happened January 29th, a bit like 129, which is the number 201 in base 8 counting. But brain implant and transhuman, that word has gematria of 129, and this is the definition of transhuman. The concept of an intermediary from between human and post-human. In other words, a transhuman is a being that resembles a human in most respects, but who has powers and abilities beyond those of standard humans. How do you get there? By implementing technology with the human being. Again, a human mind that also has the ability to work with, the flow of information on the net. And it's funny, really, they've been introducing these ideas for a long time, because I remember being in college and having professors bring up how in the future there will likely be some kind of insert that you can hook up with your actual body, your brain, and learn languages much more quickly, possibly overnight. And I remember talking about this, I was like, wow, that sounds really cool. I mean, you think about that from that angle, that would be awesome. You're traveling somewhere. Think about how helpful it is to know the language and know it well, speak it well. You'd have a lot more pleasant trip there. You might be a lot more welcomed even by the people because they respect that you learn the language. You can actually have a real conversation with them. I mean, that would be awesome. But also, if we have a mind that's accessible where a computer can alter the information in there, is there a reverse side to that? Is it that a guy like me has to be hooked up because it's the future? It's the year 2084. And I'm still hanging in there. How old would I be? I'd be 101. I better spend less time doing decodes and more time working out. But anyway, again, it's a future year. Wall-E is realized. It's a future world where, I mean, just imagine, you guys. Imagine what they showed us in 2020, almost 100 years later. If they really are just building a continual surveillance state where you got to get your shots, you got to make sure you're hooked up and you're in the system. And you know that people are watching you to make sure you're following the rules. They're marketing it to you like, listen, when we watch you, we look out for you to make sure you make the right decisions in life. But then the other side of that marketing is when you don't, man, they're coming in there sweeping you up and throwing you in the cage or worse. And again, there are people in the world who'd be like, that's the world I want, where we all obey authority. It's like, okay, You're coming from the rose-colored glasses, like where if we could just get behind the honest, best authority there ever was, which is the U.S. government, like Donald Trump, if we could just trust them all the time and follow them, everything would be so... Again, I know some of you guys think like that, but is that really how it is? You think Donald Trump really cares about you as he just constantly brags about himself? I mean, if he cared about democracy, is he wants to pick on the old guy who's losing his mind. Why not debate the other Jesuit educated man, RFK, who's got the better message? Why not bring him up there and then see how that... you guys, did you know that they even got into an argument about who's the better golfer last night? And by the way, if you go back and watch the golf clip, see, this is where I'm like, okay, what are they doing with Joe Biden? Is he like the best actor ever? Go back and watch the golf clip of Joe Biden. He says his handicap is a 6 under. And then Donald Trump's like, that's the biggest lie of the night. He's no 6 handicap. And then Joe Biden repeats back. He's like, I'm an 8 handicap. I'm like, okay. Are they clowning here with 6 and 8? For years, you guys have been documenting the 68 rituals with Donald Trump and golf. Golf is 68, like Donald John Trump. 1968, the year, you know. It was 220 days after Biden's birthday. The Celtics became 18-5 in the finals. Yesterday was 18 weeks and 5 days before the election. On and on and on. But yeah, coming back to this, just his ritual with Neuralink. You know, if there is some Orwellian future where we're all hooked up and every day we get the choice between red slop and blue slop, and we've got to make sure we're staying up to date on our jabs so that Pfizer can take its place as the number one company in the world in this future year, where they just make a continual killing, literally, off all the jabs that Big Brother pays for from the taxpayer pool. Just the money just siphoned right up to the needless jab company. Give you the old myocarditis and get your government way in debt. I know I'm not phrasing these things the best today. My words are, my lips aren't. But anyway, I hope I'm making the point. That Neuralink thing happened on 54-date numerology, for the record. 1/29/24. Just add it up. 1 plus 29 plus 24, 54. Today he turns 53, beginning the countdown to his 54th year of life. His 54th birthday next year in 2025. Again, they live. Cable 54 going to have full control over the world by 2024. Now, I don't think everybody's going to be on Neuralink, and it's this future picture that could possibly happen if we let the wrong people continue to rule over us. I don't think it's happening as soon as, anytime that soon, but I feel like we're watching how the narrative is being laid down to get people on board with these types of things. From the establishment of Neuralink, check this out. From the establishment of Neuralink to the implant news was 397 weeks. That's the 78th prime number. Just like how he was declared the richest man on the 78th anniversary of Nikola Tesla's death. And just like the massive 78 ritual with the finals and now Joe Biden and his news today and history and Kennedy and Cleveland and all the things we talked about up to this point. The phrase brain implant also happens to be 78. First brain implant that day. Brain implant on January 29th, 397 weeks after the founding, the 78th prime. I mean, isn't that perfect? Isn't it so Jesuit? Again, 129 is 201 in base 8 counting. The Jesuit order 201. The pandemic was declared. Wuhan coronavirus, for the record, equaled 78, like order out of chaos, like Jesuit, like every face of the pandemic was a Jesuit. The pandemic was declared 78 days after Anthony Fauci's birthday. He went to Holy Cross, another Jesuit school, where Lyndon Johnson, 201 days after JFK's assassination, said, who controls the weather controls the world. And then climate change. Everyone signed off on the big climate change initiative back in Rio de Janeiro in 92 on June 13th, the day leaving 201 days left in the year. Again, climate change equals 56. Climate accords in Paris, France, 56, where the Jesuits are from. Last night, Joe Biden bringing up how Trump got out of the Paris climate accords. Just all this theater, just all this cooked up crap for people, just buzzwords. Same stuff every year. Border wall, climate change, blah, blah, blah. Just same stuff over and over. And meanwhile, it's like, again, it's always felt like there's a lot more immediate problems that just never get discussed. Things that actually are really undermining what America's supposed to be about, like censorship and big tech. RFK's been talking about it a lot. I know he's part of the script, but that's part of the game is they got to keep him with all the really on-point messaging off the stage, and then if anyone listens to it who's been programmed, they're like, oh, this must be the kooky stuff. RFK's talking about there's a lot of censorship in big tech. That must be kooky. That's what Jake Tapper said. Okay. Remember the other year, Mike Myers, the comedian, not the Halloween serial killer or the former closer for the Colorado Rockies, but the actor, Wayne's World. That's a man, baby. Maybe those were maybe that was some of that predictive programming. A lot of Mike Myers with what was that character's name? The secret agent shagging all the chicks. Austin Powers. They did Mini-Me dirty the other year. A handful of years ago now. Poor Mini-Me. It's crazy how many people they did dirty. Even little Mini-Me. But yeah, anyway, Mike Myers did that spoof the other year. And if I remember right, the leader of the Illuminati in the show was called Lord Lordington. I'm quite certain that's what it was. Yeah, it was. Lord Lordington. It equals 177 and 201 in the same ciphers as the Jesuit order. 78 like Jesuits, 75 like Catholic Church. If you never saw that, it's on Netflix now. It's called The Pentaveret. The P-E-N-T-A-V-E-R-A-T-E, I think. By the time you type in P-E-N-T, it's probably going to be coming up. But if you watch that, there's a big theme with Elon Musk and this Illuminati. And again, if you look into Elon Musk's mother, and again, he's from South Africa, part of this United Kingdom, which we're definitely a part of. We never really got free from Britain. Very Jesuit Catholic stronghold is the UK, just like the US, like are a lot of powerful places in the New World Order. But yeah, I was looking into, again, just how significant June 28th is in history. So many big things happened, right? And in terms of like a new world order, right? World War I, the one they say ended November 11th at the 11th hour. That World War, if you didn't know about it, Archduke Franz Ferdinand, his assassination is blamed for its beginning. Look into the license plate on his car. It was the date that the war ended. It was 11/11/18. The war ended November 11th, 2018. But I just noticed that it's interesting that Elon Musk is born on the 57th anniversary of his death. I've never really thought about this before, but his full name, Elon Reeve Musk, is 57, like Tesla. Run Tesla the other way, of course, it's 78. Special number is 57. Several of the first presidents were inaugurated age 57, including George Washington, who became president in 1789, the same year Georgetown was established, and Georgetown equals 57. The moon has the 57 connection, the 19-year cycle. The moon's important to these people. But he was born during Saturnalia, was Franz Ferdinand, born 100 years before the JFK assassination. And yeah, I remember Elon Musk has put out some cryptic messages in the past. He could die under mysterious circumstances. I'd have to go back and look at the Pentaveret thing. I almost think there was a joke about that too, like some idea of Elon Musk being killed or assassinated. I forget. There are a lot of hokey things in that show, but again, the Lord Lordington 201, remember, Order of Illuminati, founded by the Jesuit Adam Weishaupt. The Jesuit Order 201, Order of Illuminati 201. Adam Weishaupt dead 201 days after the anniversary of the order's establishment. State of Israel 201. David Ben-Gurion, the first PM, dead 201 days after the anniversary of Israel's establishment. PM, Prime Minister. I wonder where the Elon Musk story will eventually end up. remember, the CNN had a bit on him in the 90s that he was this new tech billionaire. And the short story they have on him, it was like the first time he was ever in the news, was about how he's going to use his money to buy a really expensive, exclusive car, a McLaren. And here, if I can remember how to spell McLaren, is it 2 C's? And McLaren, 1 C. I bet if I just search McLaren and Musk, I'll pull up that post on his first ever TV spoof where they had to connect him to cars. All right, it's from 1999. It's for the big Y2K scare. This is about when people started talking about Y2K. A McLaren F1 in Gematria equals 144 and 72 like Jesuit order. And he mentions it's one of 62 in the world. Elon equals 62 like Nikola. Says, so in 1999, Musk decided to reward himself with a new car after selling his startup, Zip2, for more than $300 million, and not just any car, the greatest car of its time. The $1 million McLaren F1 hypercar is soon as seen on Bold Ride. In a clip from a CNN Perspectives documentary dating back to 1999, a then 28-year-old Musk and his fiancée, now former wife, Justin, take delivery of the exotic set of wheels. It's $1 million for a car, Justine said. It's decadent. 3 years ago, I was showering at the YMCA and sleeping on the office's floor, Musk told the camera. Now I have $1 million car and quite a few creature comforts. So again, it was just selling that idea, the dream, the tech boom, the overnight millionaires, billionaires, the Jeff Bezoses of the world, the Bill Gateses of the world. Again, you learn the code. You see all these little puppet strings on these guys. Jeff Bezos becoming the richest man in the world at age 56, with the 56 pandemic beginning in his city, where Costco is also headquartered, and all these influential companies and these huge world-shaping events, including Boeing and 9/11. And again, there's a reason they use a city like Seattle that's full of all this dark energy because they don't get enough sun. There's a lot to it. But yeah, anyway, just think about it. The first time Elon Musk was ever on the news, they're connecting him to expensive cars. His future is Tesla, the car company. I mean, come on. The use of the number 62, that they even had to be part of the story. His first time on the news, he has to make sure you know it's one of 62. There's 62 McLaren F1s in the world. Musk added. I mean, here, look. Nikola, 62. Elon, 62. We just talked about what they did with Julian Assange. Again, getting freed on Freemasonry's birthday. He's free on Freemasonry's birthday. Mason, 62, after serving 62 months. But it's also the birthday of St. John the Baptist. And St. John the Baptist, also 62. The Elon Musk 62 ritual. So again, just special numbers. They're biblical numbers. If you haven't read the first chapter of my first book, I get into 26, 62, 101. The Torah, where man's made in the 26th verse. Adam, and Adam is 26, like Torah, like God, and the four-letter name of God. And in Hebrews, also 26. A whole lot more to it. But yeah, these are characters on the world stage. Somebody asked me to look into the Greta Thunberg recent arrest in April. I missed this at the time. It's the same old, same old. We've been documenting just, what a little puppet she is on strings, or her Time magazine cover, just everything about her. And recently what we noticed, though, that I'd been missing all these years, is her father, who's an actor. His birthday is the anniversary of JFK's weather control speech to the United Nations, which is September 25th. So look at this. Greta Thunberg, father. Let me get this guy up here. Svante Thunberg, actor. Oh, hold on. I take it back. His birthday is June 10th. That JFK's weather control speech to the United Nations is September 25th, 1961. His birthday is June 10th, which is the day that Lyndon Johnson gave his speech at Holy Cross and mentioned who controls the weather controls the world, and referenced what JFK had talked about at the United Nations years earlier. So, yeah, he's got the birthday that's the anniversary of Lyndon Johnson. And then his daughter's the one fighting with climate change, where the examples are the crazy extreme things happening in the world, causing significant damage to certain cities one at a time, sometimes a few at a time. And again, what I'm saying is, are we sure this is climate change, or could this be weather warfare, weather control? Again, like how the first act of weather warfare was admitted to by the Royal Air Force on August 15th, 52, the Jesuit order's birthday. And again, if you look it up, you'll see that Lyndon Johnson did give that address at Jesuit Holy Cross 201 days after JFK died. Who controls the weather controls the world. Weather control and the Jesuit order. Notice the overlap. And again, just the long history with the Jesuits in 201. The history is deep, including Event 201, the simulation about the pandemic put on by the Jesuit Klaus Schwab. Again, Pope Francis, the first Jesuit Pope, the first to live in Suite 201, his birth name, Jorge Mario Bergoglio, 201, just like the birth name of the founder of the Jesuits, Ignatius Loyola, and on and on and on. The 201 Jesuit priests that preserved the order in the time of Catherine the Great. But yeah, you really got to look at all these things and say, man, JFK seemed to get it in a Jesuit ritual. These numbers correspond with them. They gave us the language of the code. What are the odds Lyndon Johnson saying this all these days later? William Henry Gates, 201, starts building an experimental nuclear plant in Wyoming that he says, if it works, can solve climate change because all the energy can be created underground with spent nuclear energy fuel, which the world's already full of, and it's already in the ground. But he's like, and now we can put it in the ground and create energy with zero carbon. But yeah, Wyoming, June 13th, 2 years ago. Crazy rainfall. They said a once-in-a-thousand-year event that did a lot of damage in Yellowstone. That was the day leaving 201 days left in the year. What they did in Dubai this year, 201 days before the anniversary of JFK's weather control speech. Joe Biden dead 201 days before the Pope's birthday. The priest who did the funeral, Leo Jeremiah O'Donovan, 201, also did the inauguration for Joe Biden on the 201st day of the nation's age, the 20th of January, which didn't used to be the inauguration, just like the Jesuit stronghold, D.C. didn't used to be the capital. Every day I got people making videos attacking my work and ridiculing the idea that the Jesuits run the world, treating the idea like it's stupid. And it's like, okay, I understand there's other power structures to the world, but doesn't it look like the Jesuits are clearly the tip of the spear? I mean, where's your argument that they're not? Stuff synced up with the Pope day after day, the Superior General, the same number patterns. Again, who else could have given us the system? They gave us the calendar that we're on. At the same time, the language, which traces back to the church, was established with a 26-letter alphabet. Greta Thunberg, teen climate activist from Sweden, speaks at UN September 23rd, 2019. This was on the 4th anniversary of the Pope speaking about climate change in D.C. on the 266th day of the year when he's the 266th Pope. But notice, from her birthday to her speaking out was 263 days, the 56 prime, climate change 56. Same number pattern we brought up with the planes on 9/11, what RFK did with his Jesuit VP from the wealthy tech family, Jesuit educated and Jesuit controlled big tech Silicon Valley. I mean, her name, Greta Thunberg, is almost exactly like climate change. And remember, the number 56 is the number 70 in base 8 counting. So many rituals with the pandemic in 56 and 70. Angry Greta Thunberg, this headline that they were calling her back then, had the 94. See all these 94s? When she got arrested earlier this year on April 6th, it was 94 days after her birthday. So in 2024, somebody asked in the comments yesterday if I can look into Greta Thunberg's arrest a couple months back. I hadn't looked at this, so I'm bringing it up today. But first thing I saw was the 94 days after her birthday. I was like, I swear I remember writing something about her in 94 in the past. And this post is from my old website, 2019. So it's going to turn 5 years old in September. from a family of actors. The world is a stage. Her dad has the significant birthday to what Lyndon Johnson said in a big Jesuit ritual. Jesuits like that 56. They like that 94 as well. Roman Catholic Church is 94. Like coronavirus pandemic, like the first vaccine mandate in the world came from the Catholic Church. Look it up if you don't know it. Like Seattle, Washington's 94. Like Bill Gates on the 94th day of his age, a decade before COVID, he declared a decade of vaccines and 10 years a push to vaccinate all the people of the world. He did that in Davos, Switzerland, which equals 94, like Seattle, Washington. And then a decade later, almost to the day, he gets the coronavirus pandemic, 94. Like Roman Catholic Church, 94, when all roads lead to Rome. Again, the Jesuits served the Roman Catholic Church. Planet's another 94 word, like Helios. And the implementation of the Gregorian calendar also had a lot to do with 94. But yeah, angry Greta, the climate activist, put up on the world stage to be a polarizing figure. And you see, I mean, everyone knows her name. Some people, like you go to Seattle, you'll find a lot of Greta Thunberg fans, but a lot of the rest of the people in the country just see her as this smug little know-it-all, know-nothing. And that's exactly how they want it. But yeah, the same numbers over and over. And don't forget, she was Time Magazine's Person of the Year. Time Magazine equals 201. So many rituals with Time Magazine. Yesterday, in real time, even before it happened, we explained why it would make so much sense if the Lakers with the 55th pick got Bronny James for the LeBron and son father combo when King James equals 55. And that number had a lot to do with his heart scare last year at USC. Just, again, King James in Gematria, 55. 55th pick of the draft, him and his son united. When he won on the real King James's birthday, the Warriors went down with 89 points. When he went to the Lakers, came over on a $154 million deal. So many rituals with 35 in King James over the years, especially in Raptors games, who Kobe also had a symbolic ritual against. But the 55 part, remember, Los Angeles Lakers, 257, the 55th prime number. Los Angeles Lakers, 257, the 55th prime. When he had his scare, it was all over the news on the 25th day of the 7th month last year that he, at practice, something happened to his heart. A lot of things happening to people in the world with their hearts. Somebody left a comment. They said, Zach, how come you didn't talk more about the God-Satan part? And fair point. You know, again, the word God equals 55 when you run the alphabetic order in reverse. And it's interesting because they say the Fibonacci sequence. It's another Italian word like Illuminati, like where the roads of Rome lead to. But hold on, I spelled Fibonacci wrong. There it is. Fibonacci with 2 C's. Fibonacci has the 55 in it. The 10th Fibonacci number is 55. 55 is the 10th triangular number and the 10th Fibonacci number, okay? But notice how numerology also has the 55 in it. Significant number. God equals 55, again. But so does Satan. And Marilyn Manson, who just turned 55 this year, a member of the Church of Satan, he has that song that came out when Trump was running for office in 2016. Remember, Marilyn Manson had the controversy because there was a music video showing an assassinated Donald Trump laying in a pool of blood. But Marilyn Manson had the song, When You Say God, I Say Satan. And actually, was that music video for that same song? Hold on. Satan music video. Sorry, I'm not trying to indoctrinate you guys or anything. I just want to go back and double check if that's how it was. There is a music video for that, and let me see. Trump. Let me see if I put Trump in there if it pulls it up. Yeah, okay, this was it. So Rolling Stone was putting this out the day of the election, November 8th, 2016. The chorus is, when you say God, I say 10. Okay? Play on the word with the number 10 in it. Again, God equals 55 and 10 when you run the alphabetic order in reverse. Satan is 55 and 10 when you run it forwards. Numbers with a mathematical relationship, seemingly a deep relationship in the language. And you have LeBron, who's joked with Obama about selling their souls in TV years ago, which we've shown. I just put that clip back up on my Twitter last week. I think Atanchi had it, and I reshared it. And then you have recently LeBron with J.J. Redick in an interview before J.J. Redick was made the Lakers coach. J.J. Redick asking him how he's had such a long, successful career, and he said he has to sacrifice his loved ones. And then J.J. Redick acted like that was a weird response, and then kind of asked the question back, and LeBron responded with the exact same thing about how you got to sacrifice your loved ones. For years, we've been talking about suspicious deaths around LeBron. But it goes back to also, again, how the year he won on the real King James's birthday was the 55 connection. Trump had his convention in Cleveland. Remember, that's the 216 area code, like 6 times 6 times 6 is 216. The last game in Cleveland was Game 6. 216 points were scored in that game. But Trump, again, runs on mega, the highest degree of the Church of Satan. The day that Obama joked at the White House Correspondents' Dinner that Trump would be the 45th president, April 30th, 2011. Again, that was the 45th birthday of the Church of Satan. 45 days before Trump's birthday. Again, mega is the highest degree of the church. LeBron, Trump, Biden as well. These ongoing rituals. The news for LeBron officially that he's going to get a chance with his son, his dream that he talked about many years ago, that ESPN predicted back in 2018 when he went to the Lakers. And that's the thing too, you guys. It was the 181st day of LeBron's age. 181's the 42nd prime. Lakers is 42, like LeBron James, like slavery, like breeding slaves, like sick rituals with all kinds of symbolism and layers to it. Again, all the biblical stuff with LeBron James. Remember, LeBron in reverse is 66, like Lakers is also 66. LeBron alone, 66. The year he won his first finals, they shortened the season to 66 games. On and on and on. But, yeah, there's definitely something even deeper than what I showed yesterday. In the thumbnail, I showed how they had him coming out for USC with the introduction with him wearing number 6, with 2 videos of him on both sides with his 6 jersey. So there's literally 3 6s as he comes out and makes his debut. And they were doing this with his father years ago. Here, let me pull it up. LeBron was the first player to go to 6 straight finals since Bill Russell did it in 66. Let me see if this pulls it up. And we know how they did Bill Russell dirty. LeBron went to a Catholic high school. Bill Russell went to Jesuit San Francisco University. Hold on. Where is... Right here. Bill Russell. Right here, you see it. First player since 1966 to reach 6 straight NBA finals. It didn't say right there, but if you were listening to the story, they probably changed the caption. It was Bill Russell, the last player to do it. And, look at the gematria of Bill Russell. Bill Russell. He got the 42 as well. And the beast rules for 42 months in the Bible. And New Testament is 42. New Testament, 42. It begins with Matthew. You see how New Testament is 42 and 66? Protestant Bibles end with the 66 book. Math is 42 and 66. The New Testament begins with the 42 generations to Jesus in Matthew. And number of the beast, which is taught about in the 66th book of the Bible, and Protestant ones, which is 666, has the 66 as well. Has the 87 also, like James, and that's another number. They've done plenty of rituals with him. But the Pope's 87 right now at the time of the Father and Son being joined on the Lakers in the colors of royalty on the day where Trump, who had his convention in Cleveland, the year that Cleveland won the championship, again on the real King James' birthday. Again, it's a good day for Trump. It's a good day for LeBron. And remember how bad it was. The name James equals 48. Cleveland equals 48. Donald Trump equals 48. The word wall equals 48. And right after Trump became president-elect, LeBron had the hit show The Wall. After Trump did his thing as Cleveland, Then Matt Damon's putting out a movie, The Great Wall, on the 48th day of the year. You just see how scripted it all is when you're paying attention. And again, if Trump does become president, he'll be the first split-term president, he'll be the second in history, but the first since Grover Cleveland. Cleveland equals 78 and 48. Like, again, Trump's 78, and there's 78 cards in the tarot deck. And Boston Celtics, only full team name in the NBA that have the 78 connection. Again, with the 4 base ciphers and 30 teams, that gives you 120 numbers. Only 3 teams have a 78 connection at all. They're all in the East. Boston Celtics, the full name, and then Cleveland and New York. And that's why we said at the beginning of the year, all the 78s are in the East. Boston's the only full team. A lot of things going on for Boston this year. It was a good year for them to win number 18. We saw how 18 it was when they won the finals. Jerry West, who was 1-8 in championships, dying the day after. The Celtics had played 78 games the day he died. But his full name, Jerry Allen West, also 171, which is the 18th triangular number, as the Celtics pick up the 18th championship. We've always pointed out how John Havlicek died 17 days after his birthday, number 17, when NBA equals 17. Again, he died 17 days after his birthday on the day Joe Biden, whose Secret Service name is Celtic, announced he was running for president. You could also say John Havlicek died on the 18th day of his age, and now in Biden's last term, they get their 18th championship. Probably not an accident. The Jesuit acronym, the letters IHS, are 18. Remember, in Jewish numerology, 18 represents the meaning of life. The word sun is 18. The Jesuit logo is the sun. And sun's also 54, like we talked about with Jesuit order. But yeah, I think I got all the main points I wanted to put in here. Thank you very much, Eli. That was very generous of you. Eli Shokai with the $20. Thank you very much. I hope I said your name right. And Eli is one of those names that has the 26 gematria, like God. Hollywood made that big movie in recent years with Denzel Washington, Jesuit educated. Denzel, Jesuit. But he knows, he's a blind man who knows the Bible, the book of Eli. He knows it word for word. He knows every word in the Bible. In this apocalyptic fallout America, he's a blind man who's highly skilled, who can still take care of himself. Bad guys beware, and he knows every word of the Bible. Again, Eli 26, like God, like Adam, like man makes God in the 26th verse. Special number. Roll with me again with the 5. Thank you again, roll with me. Again, I appreciate your generosity, but don't feel the need that you have to give me $5 every time I'm streaming. That'll add up, and I got to make sure you guys got enough money for possibly tough times ahead. And shout out to Sarah Sutherland, who's always here, just being too generous. I've asked her 1,000 moons ago to stop donating just because she's been too generous in the past, but I do appreciate you, Sarah, and it is very nice of you. It's just, like you always say, you're doing well, so thank you. Thank you for being generous all these years. And Chew Man says, I hope everyone knows the real Joe Biden was executed in 2018. Listen, that kind of stuff, I don't know. It's possible. But whenever people make claims like that, if you ask them the hard evidence, they'll point to things that were seemingly different about Joe Biden in the past. Those arguments are tough because it's like, well, he is aging. People's appearance can change. Yeah, their ears can change a little bit because just everything's weakening and becoming more saggy in the body. I mean, people do change at the end of their life based on their well-being. Some people look great in their 80s. I used to always tell you guys about Frank, this man who was well into his 80s and he was every day walking and eating healthy, and he looked great. I mean, he looked terrific. His mind was sound. It's all about, well, some things are genetics, but other things are about how you take care of yourself. That's the biggest part. You take care of yourself, you're going to last a lot longer. Just like you take care of anything. You get something, you take care of it, it could last you forever. You get something, you treat it like trash, it's being out of here in no time. A lot of people do that to their own bodies. Our government that people continue, that's the thing that makes me sick, that people continue to endorse this system. Don't you see how corrupt and evil this system is? It's tricked us into this food system with all this Again, you guys, our federal government subsidizes sugar and corn syrup more than any other things. Isn't that crazy? Things that ultimately are not good for people, but good for corporations and processed food and shelf life, good for making money. That's what our government does with our food supply. Subsidizes the profitable junk food where there's all kinds of signs that these highly processed things create all kinds of illness in the body. And just year after year, all this money spent on research to solve it, when it's like, I think if we just subsidized like healthy food. Again, healthy food means plants and vegetables that aren't just saturated in pesticides that are actually going to be more harmful than good. You think you're eating the apple and you're getting something, but actually you're biting into something that has so many chemicals that are just... This is our food supply. I mean, you want to change the nation, let's do something crazy about food and health and watch the radical transformation of everybody going from way obese and overweight and sick and dying from this and that and on this pill and that pill to, oh my God, look at us, we look fit. We're not on the drugs anymore. We're reunited with this place we call Earth. We're not just living in our house, driving in our car, watching the screen all day, this screen all day. I mean, that's the revolution that needs to happen. But, yeah, anyway, I'm getting tangential again. And to come back to your thing, I don't know that Joe Biden was executed in 2018. I mean, what's your hardest evidence that's true? It's possible. It's possible that they literally can clone people, and he's the Biden clone. And maybe that's why some days he seems sharp, and other days he's just like, what's wrong with this guy? Yeah, this phrase right here, exactly. That's what I'm saying. We have been tricked into poisoning ourselves, and our government has not been looking out for us. They've been saying this stuff is safe. Yeah, that's safe. You can eat that. That's totally safe. That's safe over there too. It's safe to, here, you can put this much sugar in your mouth each day. This is the percentage we put out there. A lot of people who are very savvy about health look at what the FDA guideline is for amount of sugar you should have a day. Most people go way beyond even that, but a lot of people say that number is just way too high. And I think that's probably true. It's crazy how you start looking at all packaged food. There's so much added sugar because it's a preservative. Again, our ancestors, they weren't buying food from corporation in the store. They were growing their food. And not just the plants and vegetables, animals. If you eat animals, it's better that those animals like live a life like a normal animal, like they move around in a field and they eat grass and what they're supposed to eat, not they're pinned up in a tiny stall where they can hardly move their body, and then once a day somebody sticks the trough in the little cage and they eat down the gobbledygook, which isn't what they're supposed to be eating. It's like, okay, so they're eating gobbledygook. Their bodies are getting really fat fast because they can't move. There's hormones and there's all this stuff in there to help them grow faster but not die. That becomes part of their flesh. Okay, it weighs, you get a good price on. See, that's the thing. I mean, the average American has to buy the meat that's raised that way because that's what they can afford, especially as expensive things are now. You want to buy that free-range organic meat, it's like, whoa, God, I'm going to pay twice as much and get a fraction of what I can get here in the animal that was raised in the little cage with all the crap put into it. It's just, people just can't, they got to feed a whole bunch of children. They know if they get the organic one, everyone's going to be starving to death. They're going to want to eat another dinner as soon as they're done. Our ancestors didn't have any of these problems because that's just the way life was. If you ate animals, you probably grew them right in your backyard. You probably had your grandma go out there and just knock the head off the chicken and do the thing and take off the feathers, and that was the nice chicken dinner, which you didn't have every day because you didn't want to knock heads off chickens every single day, but you knew where your chicken came from, what it grew up on. I mean, nowadays you're getting a chicken that's like genetically modified to grow up and become plump and juicy in a record time so that they can just keep churning out chickens and opening up new fast food joints. And remember this year on the anniversary of the Georgia Guidestones going down, what would have been the 44th anniversary, Chick-fil-A out of Georgia? Chick-fil-A equals 44 like Georgia, like genocide. This fateful number announced they're no longer going to use the high-quality chicken. It's like, that's interesting. They put that out on the anniversary of the Georgia Guidestones going down, which were about world depopulation. I feel like that's symbolic about, again, if there's a food that because of the way it's being engineered to meet the market and make a bunch of money, I mean, chicken, isn't it? Who knows that these genetically modified chickens that you're eating almost everywhere, maybe that is something taking a real toll on humanity too. There's just so much more weird stuff with humanity, so I just think about the things it could be. I mean, there's a lot of different things it could be. But there's a reason that they announced that thing about Chick-fil-A and changing to the lesser quality chicken, again, on the anniversary of the Georgia Guidestones. Here, let me see before I hop off here if there's any other breaking news. New York Times. Oh, wow. The Jesuit-controlled New York Times. Hold on. I think it's when you actually throw a front. Here's a criticism I'll accept in my work. Some people say, Zach, yeah, that's right. New York Times is 177, like the Jesuit order and propaganda and New World Order. And if you look up propaganda, you'll find that the first ever use in the history of the world of the word propaganda was by the Catholic Church. Isn't that interesting? But Jesuits have always run the New York Times. And if you do throw a "the" in front of it, the New York Times, it does have the 78, like today's date numerology. So they're creating this big conversation for the weekend. They're giving a lot of fire to 78-year-old Donald Trump. His nemesis. There's pressure that this doesn't look good. You're giving a path for Trump to make it back to the White House. And that's what I hate, just over and over, just the contrived narratives, the storylines, how they put their crap planned narrative out, how they polarize and divide and dupe and just get away with it each election cycle. I thought as much as we knew when we first started that if I would have stayed with this for 10 years, and as much as we've advanced the research, I would have thought, man, surely every voting American, every English-speaking American would have gotten a taste of the message we've been putting out for the last decade about how rigged this system is, why we got to stop supporting it, why we need to get rid of it. The federal government needs to be disbanded. And it doesn't mean something can't be put back in its place, but it just needs to be a lot smaller and a lot simpler and something that just gets the 50 states and its territories to agree to things that are sensible and reasonable. Again, just like respecting free speech, respecting the right for somebody to have the ability of the times to defend themselves, which is the Second Amendment. Again, the right to not be subject to search and seizure by the government whenever they see fit, which is something we've lost. I mean, the whole post 9/11 Patriot Act era, we don't even have these things. I mean, it's search and seizure, they're keeping track of everything. And because of this convenient object that they've given us all, oh, snap. I better go check my phone. I bet I'm missing things from Sweet Lady, and she's going to be pissed. Oh, snap. I left my phone in the other room. She had to work late tonight, and I was waiting back. I got to get off and go double check in case she needed something. But yeah, you guys, we've allowed this federal government to build something that's the exact opposite of what the idea of this nation is in terms of what we learned once upon a time in slave school. Again, free speech, hardly at this day and age. Big tech, because of its convenience and everyone having it, is where the speech zones are, and they're totally not free. And again, just the Supreme Court the other day mocking us, telling us that it's okay for a presidential administration to censor speech through social media. I mean, where? Like, where's the argument that within the First Amendment that makes sense? I mean, come on. All right, I got to get off, you guys. Thank you again to everyone who hit the like and the share. Thank you to everyone who supports the work. Thank you again to Eli, Roll With Me, and Sarah. Appreciate your generosity. And until next time, Truth Seeker, take care.